Hello everyone and welcome live here to the season, or the final recap show of the year for Racing Hotspot. Hey guys, so we are ready now to get Mr. Peter Long on. And talk a little F1 while we are waiting here. This is the final show, as I had said. Hey, Peter.
Hey.
Alright, we're on right away, so...
Can you see me?
Yes, I can, yep. And they can too. So, now to right away here, first of all, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Alright, just making sure. So now to bring on right away our Formula One analyst, Mr. Peter Long. Final time this season we'll see you until March or so. Tell us a little bit about what you thought of the race yesterday, or yesterday morning, at Abu Dhabi.
The United Arab Emirates hosted a great Grand Prix yesterday, which is in Abu Dhabi. It was the final race of the season. The championship, the Drivers' Championship, was on the line. The Constructors' Championship, of course, was wrapped up a while ago by Mercedes. But Nico Rosberg could, if he won the race, there were a lot of scenarios. If he won the race, well, then Hamilton needed to come into second in order to keep the championship. And they qualified 1-2. Rosberg was 1. Lewis Hamilton was number 2. And I don't know if you can see, but I have my little Lewis Hamilton poster here. We had, of course, a F1 party here yesterday. A bunch of us were watching the last race, mostly Hamilton fans. And, of course, the start was great. Hamilton took off like a rocket, his best start, I think, ever. And wasn't even close. Took the first corner clean and never looked back, kept going. He maintained a good lead, about anywhere from 2 to 5 seconds over the first half of the race, and then all of a sudden, Nico Rosberg's ERS system, which is the energy recovery system on the car, failed, and of course that created other problems. So he just lost a lot of power, up to like 200 horsepower. So he just could not compete, and he just kept falling until he finally ended 14th in the race. Hamilton wins the race. His 6th on paper, it'll look like he won it by a lot, but he actually, was down to the last race. It was very exciting, awesome race. I'm really glad that Hamilton won his second championship, and look forward to next season, which does start sometime in March in Australia.
All right. So I only caught a little bit of highlights from yesterday's race, and I was also getting Twitter updates as throughout the day, or the morning actually. I woke up to them. And as you said, Rosberg had issues and stuff like that. Was there any possibility he was going to recover, or as soon as the issues happened, he was done?
Well, all of a sudden we saw that, the lead that he had he was trailing Hamilton by just 2-3 seconds. Then all of a sudden it increased to 5, and then it went to 9, and we were saying, oh, something's wrong. And you could, they do show you some of the, they give you some of the discussions, between the cars and the engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So, they immediately said there was some issues. And Hamilton, he didn't give up. Rosberg wanted to know, what he could do. Remember, if one car has troubles, the other car could have troubles. And if Hamilton was to have retired, I think he could have finished as far as 5th and wrestled the championship away from him. So it was a very exciting race. And once we saw him drop, near 2/3 of the race, with about, because the Williams cars were very powerful. They ended up 2nd and 3rd, and they could have challenged for the lead. But once we saw that Rosberg was no longer in title contention because he'd fallen so far behind the pack, he wasn't getting any points. It wouldn't matter if Hamilton finished the race or not. So, he basically picked up his pace so that Massa wouldn't catch him, and it was a phenomenal race.
All right. So we forgot to do this. Here's the quick top 5 from yesterday's race. Finishing 5th was Jenson Button. 4th was Daniel Ricciardo. Valtteri Bottas finished 3rd. Felipe Massa finished 2nd, and Lewis Hamilton, as we had already said, won the race.
And it was nice to see Ricciardo again. Even though he started from pit lane, him and Vettel both started from pit lane because after qualifying, the cars go in for inspection. They both failed inspection because of their wings, so they both started from pit road. And Ricciardo still managed to come up into 4th, which is phenomenal. He's outraced Vettel, the 4-time champion, all season long. Another good race here was Button. He did better than his partner, Kevin Magnussen, the young rookie at McLaren. And we don't know what's going to happen next year at McLaren because now that Vettel is confirmed to move over to Ferrari next year, that leaves Fernando Alonso out because Kimi Räikkönen is also returning at Ferrari. And where does Alonso go? A lot of people are speculating right now that he's going to McLaren. That would mean that either Magnussen or Button have to leave, and a lot of people feel that that could have been Jenson Button's last race in Formula One, and he'll go join Webber in the World Endurance Series, championship. So who knows? But he had a great career, and hopefully he'll come back. But who knows?
Yep. One thing I wanted to talk about was the driver who was involved in the Japanese accident. He was breathing. Yeah, he was breathing on his own. He was still in intensive care, but he was going home, I believe, or something to that extent.
Yeah, I don't have an up-to-date report on Jules Bianchi from the Marussia team that is now defunct. By the way, they didn't go to Brazil. And they didn't race. They didn't go to the United States. They didn't go to Brazil, and they certainly weren't in in Abu Dhabi this weekend. They basically went bankrupt. They're in receivership. But Bianchi, I don't know. I mean, I did hear that he had not woken up from his coma, though. I did hear that yesterday. So he may have gone home, but I think he's still in a coma of some sort.
All right. And then also, any updates on Michael Schumacher? I've heard that he's getting better, but...
Michael Schumacher was released from the hospital. He's back. They've outfitted his house for his physical therapy that he has to do. But then again, this is just as in the case of Jules Bianchi, when you suffer a massive head injury like that, you're no longer the same person. So I feel that, we haven't seen Michael Schumacher or Jules Bianchi, obviously, and there's a reason for that, and that's because they're not the same person right now. So, yeah, we wish Michael and Jules luck, recovering from their injuries. It looks like Schumacher has recovered to the point where he can do some physical therapy, but we don't know exactly, what kind of damage was done. In Jules Bianchi's case, I think it was probably a more serious accident than Schumacher, but nonetheless still life-threatening and life-altering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yes, our thoughts, well, I can't really say that because it's like they're dead. Our thoughts and prayers are with them, both of them. And we hope for them to both have a speedy recovery, of course.
Right.
But looking ahead to 2015, you kind of touched on it a little bit with the switching of cards, so to speak, with this driver's going here and that driver's going there, and this is happening. Just looking ahead, what are some things you already see that you're going to like, or what are some things you're seeing that you're probably not going to like?
I don't know. I know that Vettel going to Ferrari, partnering up with Räikkönen, that'll be an interesting setup there. The fact that, it hasn't been confirmed, but it looks like Alonso's going over to McLaren. That's also very strange because, if you recall, he left McLaren having, divulged some information that literally cost McLaren hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. So that was not a very nice breakup, so nobody could imagine him going back there. But apparently it's because McLaren, which has always been Mercedes-powered forever, is switching to Honda power. next year, and Honda is the one that wants a top-tier driver like Alonso on the team. So there's a lot of pressure on McLaren to get Alonso because they're going to have next year. So who knows how that'll work, a new engine. It could be they could go to the bottom of the pack or they can go to the top of the pack. It all depends on how they mix that with their aerodynamic package. I don't know what's going to happen with Caterham. I mean, they also went into receivership, but they did show up for the last race. They missed 2, and then they showed up. It looks like Marusha's gone. Williams, will probably be keeping the he's going to come back with the Mercedes power plant, so they had a great resurgent year this year, so I expect more of the same next year. Expect Mercedes to be very competitive next year. Red Bull, they're going to have a couple of young drivers. So who knows? I mean, we still got Renault in there, with the Red Bull team. We still have we have Honda now coming out with McLaren. We have the Mercedes-powered Williams and Mercedes teams, and the junior teams running a variety of engines. So it should be an interesting season. I think, one thing about Formula One is that while engine power is very important, the aerodynamic package is also very important. And whoever makes those little tweaks to get more downforce, get more performance out of the cars, all the other teams end up playing catch-up. So, I think a lot of it will depend on who makes the most progress there. And we never know who it can be. I mean, in 2009, Ross Brawn bought a team. Toyota decided to get out of Formula One, and Ross Brawn bought the team. He had the designs and everything. He introduced a triple diffuser, which created a lot of downforce. They won the first 4 or 5 races. Everybody else caught on, but weren't able to catch him, and Jenson Button won his world championship with a 1-year team. So a lot has to do with the design of the car,
Yeah, and that just brought up a question in my head. So the cars are different from each other, like aerodynamic-wise? Like, I know with, like, NASCAR and IndyCar, it's like one set design. You have these boundaries that you can work with, but not really much. Is that the same way as Formula One or different?
Yeah, the Formula One is run by FIA, the Federation of International Automobiles, and of course they have specifications of what you can do. But of course it's all a matter of interpretation. If something, if you produce something, the other teams can call it into question, and it can go and it can be ruled legal or illegal. I mean, that happens from time to time. Most of the cars look the same because obviously they tell you the height of the rear wing, for example, the width of the wing, the length of the wing. I mean, all those things, they give you the minimums and maximums, so they're going to look very much the same. But if you look at the front of the car, though, those the front fairings, there's always little differences in terms of trying to direct the air around the vehicle where it gives the vehicle some downforce or whatever, So there are some differences from the team. The noses this year, all the teams, there's 3 or 4 different designs. I mean, if you put them side by side, they look pretty much the same, but there are differences, for sure.
All right. Well, I guess that'll do it for this show. Any final thoughts on as we close 2014?
I think this was one of those years where, Mercedes dominated the season, having won, Hamilton won 11, Rosberg won 4, I believe, so that's 15 out of 18 races, But it was a great fight between the 2 drivers, 2 drivers that have known each other since they were 12 years old. And I think that it was nice to see some of the other teams, still perform relatively well. It was a good fight for 2nd, 3rd, 4th in the championship, which was exciting to watch. And I think next year we're going to see more and more equality amongst the teams, as they try to drive down budgets of Formula One vehicles.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in late to the season. Hopefully we'll definitely have you back full-time next year or close to full-time. I know week to week. But definitely we'll have you back first race in March. Sound good? Hello? Not sure if we just lost Peter or not. I think we might have.
Sorry, did I?
Yeah. Hello?
I got a call at the same time.
Okay. All right.
Interrupt my feed.
All right. Well, we'll see you in 2015.
Will do. Thanks, Devin.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this week's show. Make sure to join us again. Make sure to join us again in a couple weeks for the season finale, which will be on December 5th. It won't be live like we've done in the past. It will be pre-recorded, but it will be released on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the social media sites around 7 o'clock. So make sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. The list goes on and on. But make sure to go to all those sites to get all of your racing news, also news from us, because now we are actually in our off season, which I still cannot believe that season 3 of Racing Hotspot is now in the books. But like I said, we still have one more show, which that one show is on December 5th, Friday, December 5th, and it will be released at 7 p.m. on YouTube. Like I said, it'll be pre-recorded because in the past we've kind of done a quick show, record today, edit, and have it up by that night. We're not going to do that. We're going to use the next 2 weeks to make it the best we can because lucky number 3, right? So season 3 is basically to an end. Our recap season is to an end. So until we see each other on December 5th, and I believe that is about 2 weeks, a week from Black Friday, which is this Friday, have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And until we see each other then, goodbye, everybody.